Episode 180 of the Wilderness Podcast is brought to you by our supporters. If you want to support the show, one way you can do that is by going to patreon.com/thewilderness podcast. And of course, this episode is dedicated to one of our $5 tier supporters, Mon Player. And as always, this episode is dedicated to all of our $10 supporters: Aiden A, Genton New, Splemo, Dreadful Monkeys, Mateowas, Szechuan, Cynical Cyanide, Mallard, and of course a super duper shout out to Mr. Strosity, who fell through. There was a glitch in the system. Anyways, we don't need to explain it every episode, do we? Of course not. But if Patreon's not your thing, but you still want to support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Dilz, where you can buy me a coffee instead. So thank you to Timbuktu, 25, Caradoc, Terry Paramore, Issa Cole World, and Swizzle for keeping me caffeinated this week. Welcome to episode 180. I always like when we get to these round numbers. It's always exciting. We're so close to 200 too. Close, but not really close at the same time, but how exciting. My name is Dilz, and I am with Heartless today.
Hey.
The things we're going to be talking about, it's been, we got some stuff to talk about. There's some drama going on. If you stepped into that subreddit, oh boy, you would think the game is like shutting down or something. There's a massive fire going on there, but you know what? I think we haven't had too much drama in a while in this game. I think we're so used to like monthly drama, whether it's in game or out of game.
Yeah, there hasn't been as many like specific people drama, you know?
Yeah, I think this is a bit of a spark in a very dry spell, which has caused everything to just blow up in flames.
Throw back to when Dean used to be on the pod, and he would always cover the drama. I loved when he went through that.
The old drama. I miss when it was like internally. Remember with Mod Jed? Oh my god, what a spicy
Mod Jed. Now
month.
that's probably goes down as the all-time biggest drama in RuneScape.
Oh my god.
As far as people go, not like game updates, because they're a little bit different.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. We've had like the Tebow respawn, where Tebow was spawning every like 5 minutes outside of the farming guild.
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah.
And then Mod Jed, who was this person in one of he worked at Jagex. He actually worked on the Rev Caves, and he was like part of a clan and when you get to this like corner of the clanning world, like very toxic, and they like DDoS each other and dox each other's family members. It's messed up.
Yeah, apparently he was using he was an employee of the company. He was a JMod, and he was basically, I remember Matt K saying he was using his privileges as a JMod, basically hack two-factor accounts and like wipe them of gold, untradables, or whatever. And Matt K was saying he was basically like, they found out it was him, and he just did everything he could to stay employed as long as possible, just so he could exploit it even more.
Yeah, so he was in a clan, then he was like actually logging into accounts and hacking it. And the funniest thing about that was it was like months prior, clans were doing these exposés on Mod Jed, and people were like, "Yeah, that's so crazy," but that seems a little bit out there. And then of course a few months later you realize, wow, okay, it's not even, it's worse than what people were speculating about.
I mean, he was the top member of Rot, which is like a PKing clan. Like, you gotta know that something is up there.
Yeah, oh boy, that was hectic. So we got a little bit this is nowhere close to that amount of drama, but it has to do with the content creator. We'll get into it. And of course, we got an update this week called Small Changes and Tweaks, which is always exciting to hear about that. But I think the main takeaway of this is they kind of gave us a quick little roadmap for the month of July. So we got some biggins coming out there. But before we get on to all that, I got to start the show off with a pretty juicy announcement.
Right.
Not announcement, an update. Maybe it's both. It is both. So coming in 2022, I got my own little RuneScaper coming. That's right. Me and the girlfriend are having a baby.
Yo, what? That's so cool. Congratulations, man.
Isn't that crazy?
I did not expect that. The IRL pet drop. Congratulations.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. I was like, do I got a little bot in the making? I guess it's a pet drop. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're thrilled. We have been super excited. I've been really holding back, not announcing it sooner.
No kidding. That's what a surprise. Oh, that's so cool, man. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. So I'm really excited. We're gonna find out in a few weeks of what gender it is. So we'll have to wait till then. That's the next part that we're kind of waiting for. But with that being said, I was like kind of thinking today, and I was like, man, you know, everyone tells you that like having a kid. I mean, obviously it's life changing, but I guess I haven't thought about it too much, like how much my day to day routine is going to change. And they just say, everyone keeps saying, enjoy the free time while you have it. It's about to get sucked away, and which makes sense. But I do feel like I'm kind of taking it for granted because I'm like sitting there being like, yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm just kind of, I guess I'm not paying too much time or paying too much mind to how much my time is going to now it's going to shrink. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe I want to put together a little segment. And I think maybe you got to, you know, with your teaching background, it would be interesting to hear as well. We'll do it next week. We won't put you on the spot as well. But I was thinking we could do like a questions and answers, but I'll be asking the questions to our other RuneScape fathers and mothers out there to kind of send in some RuneScape parental advice. You know, stuff like I actually have no idea what it could be, but I've been kind of thinking like, you know what? I've been wanting to max. You know, I could, you know, now that a kid might be coming in, I could train them how to do like rune crafting or how to do like mining.
That's hilarious.
That could be like a punishment or something, right? Instead of being grounded, you're like, okay, you have to go mine for like an hour.
3-tick iron for the next hour, kid.
Oh my god, 3-tick iron.
That's funny.
I need you to get on my Iron Man and get questing.
Dude, I don't know, man. I don't have kids, so I don't know what it's like. But yes, I do spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah, so we'll have to. I'll put the questions out there for anyone who has kids or anyone who wants to just weigh in general about some RuneScape parental advice. Whether that is like, you know what, Dilz, you should hold off on your AFK skills because that's all you're going to be able to do, or maybe it's whatever it is. So maybe we'll try that little segment out because we like to change up segments every 10, 20
As
episodes.
someone who sees all sorts of kids and parents, I kind of get an idea of how I would like to be as a parent because of how the kids turn out.
Oh, true. You probably have a good, like, not background, but you can kind of...
I have a good sample size, I should say. So I have a good gauge of like what are the different styles of parenting. And I basically boiled it down to 3. There's 3 styles. Okay. So there's like...
Okay, let's hear it.
Fast and loose, highly emotional parents. They don't really care. The kids have a lot of, not they don't care, but they love their kids, but they don't have a lot of boundaries. And the kids run the house.
Right.
And those kids tend to be
gotcha.
They can be fun and exciting, but they can also be like, you know, nightmares to deal with because they've never encountered boundaries before.
Right, gotcha. Yeah.
So that's one end. So that's like a very, we call it like loose parenting. And then there's the other end, which is like super authoritarian. They're extremely strict. Kids are tightly wound. They don't show a lot of emotion. They can be, I don't know, it can be tough on the kids, and they haven't experienced a lot of things because they're so strictly, I don't know, there's some very strict parents, so they don't let them do a lot of things.
Yeah,
and that's basically the 2 extremes. And then there's sort of the middle ground where you've like got firm boundaries, like and like have fair punishments for when they, you know, do things that you don't want them to and stuff like that. So I find the kids in the middle.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to do it, is to
kids
blend.
In the middle of the balanced approach tend to succeed the most because they get both experiences, and the kids on the extremes, they tend to struggle in specific areas.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a hard line to balance, especially when you yourself are also a human being. You know, you have good and bad days.
Yeah,
I think it's probably one of the really hard parts of parenting is like keeping it up all the time, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And kind of like having to almost, I imagine having to look at yourself as like a third person to be like, am I doing the blend or am I weaning too far one way or the other? I have no idea, but I guess I will find out sooner.
It doesn't really matter when they're babies. That's the hard times when it's like you just have to work around their schedule. But when they're a little bit older and they're conscious and they can start to speak and stuff, that's when you'll get into it. Fun. Anyways, man, I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure you're gonna be great. I wouldn't worry.
Oh, it should be. I'm very excited. Yeah, it's like I said, I've been holding back on the announcements on the podcast for a little bit now because I was like, oh, I'm so excited, but you gotta wait till like the certain ultrasound just to make sure everything's okay.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, that's so exciting. It's like a giant learning curve, I can imagine, being a parent. If it's anything like I have had being a teacher the first few years, it's not easy at first.
Oh yeah, because you got like 30 of them.
At least I can, clock out at whatever they go home. I can be like, all right, don't have to worry about those guys tonight. I'll see you guys in the morning. But parents like full time. It's a full time job, so you're gonna have to keep updating us as things go. Well, I guess.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a grace period where this is the time that I have to max, right? This is it.
Grace period for you, but not for your partner. Poor girl.
Yeah, she's yeah. Sorry, babe. I'm in the middle of maxing. I don't have time right now.
She's gonna be sending you out for the cravings or whatever she's feeling at the moment.
Yeah, the pregnancy cravings. So what happens? There's a few midnight McDonald's runs.
I remember my dad telling me like my mom just absolutely losing it at him to go and get her like a Danish from the store. It's like it's 11 o'clock. Just go get me a Danish.
How am I gonna find a Danish? Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh boy, so that's that should be fun. But yeah, this is the time to max. But it had me thinking as well. Like I personally, for my RuneScape grinds, like segueing into that, I've been on a little bit of I guess more of a burnout period. I feel stuck almost. And I was like thinking about this the other day on like, why do I feel like I'm kind of bored of the game? Like when I'm editing the podcast, I'm usually like doing something AFK on the side, or maybe doing like some easy Slayer task or some whatever it is. I'm doing something that's like doesn't require a whole lot of focus.
Yeah.
But last week when I was editing, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't feel like doing, sometimes I might park myself at the giant mole, or I might go do Venenatus because it's a little bit AFK, or Callisto at the safe spots. But I was like, I don't know what I feel like doing. And I just feel kind of like blah.
Yeah.
And
that sucks.
Yeah, well, it's also because I've been doing a beta. I was doing Theater of Blood. I got 20 kill count under my belt, and it's still fun to do. But I guess around 20k, you kind of learn that newbie. You lose that newbie excitement that you get from trying like new content. Like it's still fun, but after 20k, it's the fun shifts, and now you're kind of looking to make profits, and you're kind of looking to be more efficient at stuff, and just actually get some clears. But I think it's just like I'm not to sound like a broken record, but we haven't seen a lot of content recently. RuneScape's been kind of going really slow for us, and I think having that new content that comes out that acts like a carrot on a stick, it's the carrot's getting eaten.
Yeah, I think you're not alone in that, and I feel like that's partially to do with our economy crash too. It's like there's a bunch of people sort of just leaving or taking a break.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with things like opening up in the world a little bit more. Like we're not just trapped at home anymore. So I could see that being one of the contributing factors.
Oh yeah, and once you get to like higher levels, grinds become really long, and they're kind of hard to kind of stay motivated. Like you could do pet grinds and try to grind out a pet, but like realistically, that's a huge grind. Like that's hundreds of hours, potentially, to try to get a specific pet that you're going for. Because they're so rare. So the chance of you burning out along the way are like really high. And if you have multiple goals to kind of go towards, it makes it better. But when there's not much content coming out, those, Temporos is fun, but after you do it like five times, you're like, okay, I get it. You might keep grinding it, but it's lost that magic after the first, 5 to 10 kills, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So yeah, a lot of my grinds are getting kind of, they're just blah and a bit of a money grind and all that stuff. But I was curious from like an Iron Man standpoint, because I do have my own Iron Man, and I've been playing an Iron Man on RuneScape 3 just because it's different, but it's familiar at the same time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll go on it on my old school account because they're the same account, so I bond up one and I get old school and RuneScape 3 Iron Man. So I'm kind of going through the questing grinds, but I know with Iron Man, there's like a whole iceberg of grinds that like you don't think of. Like when I think of what excites me about an Iron Man is like doing barrows and getting the unique pieces of armor there, or like doing different bosses and getting that big drop, doing some Zulrah maybe to get some all the resources plus your blowpipe and all that fun stuff. But
yeah.
you, as someone who has a high end Iron Man, I was like curious, like what are some of like the worst grinds that you've gone through or are currently on that you're just like you're dreading, or maybe you're not even doing it?
That's a good question. So you're right that it's an iceberg. There's basically two types of grinds on an Iron Man. There's I would call them like skilling grinds or like known grinds, I guess. So like you can calculate how much time it's going to take to actually complete something. So let's say, for example, getting 93 crafting from 75. It's going to take you like 60 hours. You got to mine the sand. You've got to super glass make, and then you have to blow the glass. And you can calculate down to basically the exact amount of time that it's going to take you to do. And then you've got PVM grinds, which can vary in size, but as you get later and later into Iron Man, they become longer and longer and longer. And then it's an RNG fest where, like, for example, I'm currently going for the BOFA or the FBO, whatever you want to call it. And it's roughly about BOFA. It's about 70 hours to get it on average, which is 400 kills.
Damn.
And that would get you the fully charged bow plus the armor. If you're average luck. But you could get it early, sure, but you could also go really dry for it. And that's where people start to grind burnout. So when you go from like, oh, it was 70 hours to, oh, now I'm triple the drop rate and I've spent over 200 hours doing this one piece of content, that's when people are like, they start to struggle. Or they even just think about what if they got really unlucky and had to do that many kills.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So those are the sort of the two kinds of grinds. I typically, in the early game Iron Man, it's like the iceberg is a perfect example. Like basically until you start the Slayer grind, so when you're getting all your untradables like Fire Cape, crossbow, maybe a piece of Barrow's armor, your DSim. These are pretty quick things. You go from like one accomplishment to another fairly quickly. You get your Black Mask is maybe your first, RNG grind on the account. And then you're ready to settle into some Slayer. And Slayer is fairly consistent. It's slow, but you get there. And then you get to Zulrah. And Zulrah for the most part is pretty good. I mean, I went dry there, but still, I was still motivated. And then after that, it's basically just, for the most part, all RNG grinds. So, I don't know. Have I really struggled with any? I didn't really like doing crafting the first time, like mining sand and blowing the glass specifically is very click intensive. But overall, I didn't hate it that much.
Yeah, those kind of grinds for like when I think about an Iron Man, I kind of dread like getting the crafting up. That sounds like a rough one. Or like doing bandos seems like fun, but also to me that's something you like bounce between like barrows, for example. It seems like a great one because at least starting out, because the drops are like 1 in 16, I believe, right?
They are, yeah, something like that, like 1 in 13, 1 in 16.
So that's to get a unique. That's pretty good. That's exciting. Even though you need 4 pieces, and there's like, what is it, 4 sets? 5? Or no, the 6 sets.
Yeah.
I've
never struggled for motivation on the big bosses. So like Sarah Doman. What else have I done? Krills, like Zami, Zulrah. I didn't struggle for motivation. Zulrah maybe a little bit because I went so dry. But I didn't really struggle for motivation because I knew that the items were so sick that I was going to, and when I get the drop, it's going to be like, yeah, that's a huge upgrade for my account. Like it was really exciting. It's a little bit different than a main where like, oh, look, there's 30 mil. It's like, nah, you're just doing the kills for the unique. So you're not really too worried about all the other stuff. It's just kind of gravy as you go.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't find too much struggle with those bosses. When you start to go really dry is when I think people start to burn out a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, some of those like long skilling grinds that are really slow, like crafting specifically. I'm trying to think of other slow ones. I mean, Herblore, a lot of people struggle with because they don't keep up with, even a reasonable amount of farm runs.
True.
So that can be a tough one. And not gonna lie, just mining and rune crafting and agility just suck on an Iron Man as well. There's no difference. They are terrible. Yeah, besides those, prayer can be a little bit brutal sometimes. Like if you don't have the bones early, you have to go and grind them in the wilderness. That's like one of your first real big when you're going for 70 prayer. If you go I would highly suggest doing green dragons, the Eastern green dragons. because there are like 6 or 7 of them, and PKers can never get onto you because the aggro range is enormous. And then you can just bring a looting bag and get like 30 kills and then just bank at the Ferox Enclave. But you have to collect like 1,000 of them, so it just takes quite a bit of time.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's I guess like the Dragon Warhammer is a daunting one for many people because it's like 1 in 5,000, which is just a lot. That's a ton.
75. So like the whole Slayer grind, the meta's changed now that the Blade of Seldor is introduced. Like I would highly suggest any Iron Men who are thinking about going for Zulrah to go for the Blade first or the bow.
The bow?
Yeah. If you can handle the content. If not, just go for the blowpipe. I just feel like the bow is just so powerful.
True.
But getting to 87 Slayer, you're talking like 15, 20k an hour Slayer XP maximum because you don't have a cannon. Yes, you get to do burst tasks, but they don't come around all that often, and they're sort of offset by these other terrible tasks that you have to do. So Slayer is it's very daunting, especially if you're doing any kind of like rush build. But I would personally say to you, if you want to like rank up your Iron Man or a lot of the like young Irons in the CC, just like take it at your own pace, and there's like don't rush or like compete against other players because you'll get there eventually. And it's more important if you're to enjoy the game. So that means like not burning out by hard rushing PVM content. Just get your foundations out of the way and then, start to chip away at whatever your goals are. That's what I highly suggest.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because like when you get to end game and you're going to be at end game for the rest of your
all my grinds now are extremely long RNG grinds or like long skilling grinds. Like there's no short-term things left for me. And they're really fun and just enjoy them while you have them. Because you get to this stage of the account and it's sick. I have like most of the PVM items, but still like to get a new one, it's just like an enormous grind. So it's not quite the same.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. So yeah, I was something I was thinking about and I was curious to hear your take on it. But yeah, what have you been up to this week though?
Honestly, that's a good question. I have been off work yet. I'm not really sure. I did mine 25,000 buckets of 25,000 sand. I filled the grinder, which this is my third time doing it. I quite enjoyed it this time. It really wasn't that bad. It's kind of watched. I AFK'd on the side, watching some stuff.
Nice.
Specifically, this was more exciting. Have you ever heard of GDQ or Games Done Quick before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so it's like, for those of you who don't know, it's basically like it's like a speed running convention where for 24 hours a day for 7 days, people just speed run different games, and there's like commentators and there's like a speed runner, and this put on by this whole community of people who like raise money and donate to some charity. And this time it was Doctors Without Borders. It's really sick. So they ended up raising like almost $3 million, which was insane over the week. So I just watched that, and some of the games like I've never seen before, but it's just fun to see people like pushing their limits, just being the best of the best at these like old or weird or wacky games sometimes. And it's just cool. Yeah. So I really enjoy that. So I just did some crafting and watched that. I also did like 100 gauntlets, which is no small feat. 100 corrupted. So I'm up to almost 200 KC now. I got a couple armor seeds. Nothing special though. That's pretty much it, dude. So I just watched some GDQ and then other real life things. I decided to get back into cooking a little bit more because now I'm finally off. I can start cracking in some recipes. I find I get quite lazy when I'm working and just, go back to the same rotation. But yeah, I just got into that. I'm a vegetarian actually. So.
Oh, really?
I have been.
That.
I have been for years. Yeah, many years.
Is there any reason? Like, is it like a moral thing or
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I'm not big on the whole like huge farming industry. I'm not like against people eating meat or anything, but it's just a personal choice. And that was I've been this way for many years now.
Damn.
I just enjoy it.
Did you find it hard to transition?
No, it was pretty easy. Yeah, I wasn't a huge meat eater before, anyways. So
okay,
yeah, it wasn't a big deal for me.
Yeah, I've tried a few times to like, cause I've been trying to lose weight ever since way back in the podcast. I did like this Montreal trip, and then I was staying in Airbnbs while I was waiting for the house that I was moving into, which is this one. My landlords were like fixing up all this stuff, so I was delayed in actually moving in.
Mhm.
So staying in Airbnbs, and I ate so much fast food,
Mhm.
and I just gained so much weight. And ever since that trip, I've been like, I'd lose some weight and then I gain. I'm going like up and down, but I've been kind of trying to lose weight ever since then to get back down to what I was beforehand. Because none of my goddamn clothes fit. But I've tried to do like we'll try to go We'll go. We're not. I wouldn't say vegetarian, but we'll go more vegetarian. So like
Right.
less meat, or we'll do a week with no meat. And I find I have a few staple meals that are like great. They're very hearty. But there are tons of meals that we would make, and I would eat it, and I'm just like, I'm still hungry. I'm still so hungry.
That's fair,
I'm
dude.
so used to having like a big chunk of steak or something that's very like, something that just like you feel like shit afterwards, but it fills you up.
I feel like there's a common misconception that being a vegetarian means you're healthy, because while a lot of vegetarians are healthy, a lot of junk food is also vegetarian, so you can just eat equally as poor. And there's a lot of like fast food alternatives that are really good too, like Beyond Meat or whatever. They're pretty good. So I mean, you can eat just as unhealthy as a vegetarian.
I was doing a lot of like chilies.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Chilies
is good. Yeah, beans are pretty like staple in my diet, which were hard on the when I very first transitioned. It's a little hard on the system, but you get used to it, and it's pretty good now. And then I eat a lot of tofu and a lot of like vegetables, like jackfruit, a lot of like Asian foods as well. So, anyways, quick insight into my life. My girlfriend doesn't cook, so it's just me.
So you forced her to be vegetarian?
No. She's a vegan actually. She has been since before I met her. So it's slightly more restricted than me, but it's really just like she doesn't eat milk and cheese.
Nice.
And I never really ate much cheese anyways, so
yeah,
it's not a big deal. People are gonna think I'm crazy for all the things I do and don't eat, but I swear I'm very healthy.
Yeah, if you can make it work, man. Like, and there's some cultures where it's like a lot of people are just vegetarians, like
Indian culture, like, most people are vegetarian,
which is like that's something that always surprised me, because when I've had Indian dishes, even though I'm like, yeah, okay, there's no meat in this, I'm always like, this feels like it should have meat in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't. So it's some cultures are primarily more vegetarian.
I mean, meat can also be very expensive too, especially if you live in like smaller areas where you rely on your livestock. Like you can't just kill them all the time to eat them. Like sometimes you want to keep them for milk or, clothes or whatever. There's lots of different reasons.
Interesting.
But anyways, small insight into my life there. So I can't remember what I was talking about. But so often. I've been cooking more often, and we've been going down to this place called Macaulay Point, which is near my house, just telling you so much about where I live. But basically it's a boat launch. But if you go around the corner, there's a beautiful rock wall that people climb. And then there's a huge park, and then you can just walk all over the place. And there's no one ever there, because when you drive by it, it just looks like a boat launch. And there's this beautiful park around the corner. So we've been going every day and having lunch down there, or having dinner down there after my girlfriend finishes work. So yeah, it's been a highlight. Nice. Been a highlight of the week.
Sounds pretty nice.
But yeah, that's my life. It's probably going to be a much more gauntlet and crafting for the next few weeks.
Get that gauntlet in. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Do you up to anything cool besides the baby?
Not really.
Of course.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, the appointments for the most part, and getting all these like books and watching videos on like how to change a diaper. And
oh yeah, I guess you gotta
make it fun. That's what they're all. You gotta make it fun. I was like, okay, I'll listen to some like death metal or something while I'm doing it, so I can enjoy it.
You know what though? Some things are just not fun, and that's just the way. You gotta do them, right? You
gotta slap on a podcast and just make do with it.
You just gotta do it.
Yeah,
speaking of, I remember now what is the worst grind on the Iron Man. Buying gold ore is the worst thing ever. I have to buy like 30,000 gold ore. You just have to hop worlds, run back and forth, use staminas. I would say that's the
and you buy it. You don't mine it or anything.
No way you mine it. That'd be so slow. You just hard buy it from the shop, and there's 100 per world. So you you get wealthy enough near the end of your account where you can just hard buy out all the worlds to save you time. But when I was poor, I was doing like 2 or 3 inventories per world instead of buying the whole thing out. That was horrible. Not a fun grind. And sometimes you're competing with other Ironmans, so the worlds are like bought out when you get there. So yeah, it's not great. Buying runes can be annoying too, just like the whole shopscape element. But it really only gets bad, in my opinion, when you get into the huge bulk, like when you need 30,000 of something.
Ouch! Yeah, that's that sounds rough.
I would highly suggest any Ironman who want to buy blood runes to do it in Pristinus, since they changed it. It's the same as the Mages Guild, and it's always full stock. And the same with death runes. If you want to buy death runes, don't buy them at the Mages Guild. Buy them in Port Sarim. They're the same price, and the worlds are always full.
Oh wow,
that's a little pro tip for you guys out there.
Nice.
Yeah, Mages Guild just isn't worth messing with, because the guy moves around all the time. Sometimes you attack the wizards because they look the same as him, and then you can't hop, and it's all bought out by other irons. So I just go to the quieter shops.
The problem's only Iron Men face.
Yeah, but you've never had to worry about that, accidentally attacking a level 9 wizard not being able to hop. That's the worst, man. Sure, some of my iron friends out there know what I'm talking about.
That is crazy. Yeah, no, for me, I've just been playing some RuneScape 3 a bunch and doing some AFK grinds on my main and bouncing around different stuff. But nothing notable to even add from like RuneScape 3. The one thing I wanted to add, a little notebook here, is their clan system. Oh my god, it's so much so much better. We know it's been a little bit better than ours, but they have a whole profile page for your clan, so you can have like a message of the day, you can have a description that you manually type into it. They can set up multiple events, but the events layout just looks so much nicer than the one that we kind of have on old school RuneScape. But one thing that I think I'm sure we'll get, but that RuneScape 3 has, is your clan is linked to the RuneScape website, and it's basically like you have your own profile on the web page that has all this more additional information that you can include and stuff.
Cool.
And it's anyways, so that's one thing I noticed, and I was like, oh, that's sweet. I hope this is like a glimpse into what we should be getting down the road.
Yeah, I was going to ask, but do you think these things will be ported over eventually?
I feel like it kind of has to. Just it just seems so strange if it never came here, because they've already got the concept down, I would say. I don't know. We see a lot of things that I've been learning about over the years that we have in this game originally came from RuneScape 3. Even like the Twisted Bow is there's an exact same version of the Twisted Bow. It's called I think it's called the Hex Bow or something, but it's a different name and different look, and obviously, but it performs the same way. It's based on the magic defense.
I think we've talked about like the pros and cons of this before as well in the past.
So it's like, yeah, it's almost like beta testing. You can pull all the stuff that does work.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing else to include. So we could why don't we hop right into all the juiciness of the news? This
juicy drama. Let's do it.
Okay, first thing we're going to talk about is the small changes and tweaks, some updates that we got into the game this week. So, there's some bugs related to Fulsani's Nightmare that they've gone ahead and fixed. Stuff like the nightmare disappearing during a certain phase. Weird little glitches like that, but they've gone ahead and fixed them. That's pretty nice. They made it so that the personal best timers are now the precise timing is now working properly, and the HP bars are matching between the Nightmare and Fulsani's Nightmare. All that sort of fun stuff. Nothing too major, to be honest. But one thing that I thought was interesting, it's kind of like what we have to look forward to for the month of July. So they've mentioned, and I believe this is happening in July or maybe early. Oh no, it says right here. So first thing is they have what they're calling the Summer Summit, which is basically like during RuneFest every year, which is like this giant, I guess convention, this festival. I don't know. It's a RuneScape convention they have in England, and they have it they were having it every year, and they have all these cool little events and different shows. But the big thing for a lot of us is they had their roadmap for the upcoming year. And this is where they would announce the really big updates we're going to get. So in one of them, they would talk about Dragon Slayer 2 and all the updates coming with that. Or they would talk about, they would propose the new skill warding, group Iron Man, all the stuff that, all the really like hard hitting updates that you could expect. And with the pandemic that we never got a RuneFest like announcement, and we actually didn't get a whole lot of big updates either. So, this is their remedy to not being able to have an actual in-person event. They're calling it the Summer Summit. So they'll be announcing all the big updates that we can expect over the course of, I guess, next year, 2022 for the most part. So that should be happening this month. They haven't announced any dates yet, but keep an eye out because they'll be announcing the live streams, and you keep an eye on social media for all that stuff when the live streams will be airing. So that I'm actually really excited for that, to see where their head is at. Last RuneFest, I was a little, I don't know, I guess I felt a little disappointed in what we got announced, which was the Nightmare. We got, what is it, Hollowvale or Darkmire, the city of Darkmire, which came the Hallowed Sepulchre.
Yeah, it was all Mortania flavored.
Yeah, and then they announced group Iron Man and the clans rework.
Still don't have it, by the way. I don't know. Yeah, it's cool, dude. Are you looking forward to this year's?
Yeah, I am, because it's good to see where their head is at, because the last one, the one I just kind of mentioned, I saw that and I was like, that's not too exciting. Like, those are not saying those aren't great updates, but that doesn't get me excited for the year. Those updates, I'm like, okay, there's nothing. I kind of want something more to get me excited for the next year. Do you have any idea? Like, do you have any guesses of what they might be announcing?
Almost like without a doubt, I think they're going to announce Raids 3.
I agree.
Like,
I feel like they have to.
I'm pretty sure that is a lock at this point. And I would put my money on that one. Anything else, I'm not sure. What I'd like them to do is, I don't mind if we wait like until next year to get Raids 3, like early next year, or like another piece of content to come out in between. So I think ideally what they would do is, because you don't want to, Jagex has a tendency to, what's the saying when you like over promise and under deliver? I think that's pretty much Jagex in a nutshell. So for one, I would wish they would do it the other way. So like they say, okay, or just like at least to just deliver. So imagine this, they say there's going to be a small piece of new content coming out in the fall, and then they give it to us, as well as Group Iron Man. Okay, that keeps us excited for a while. And then they say early next year, you're going to get Raids 3. Early next year, we get Raids 3. Just please be on time for once would be nice, I think, is all we ask, especially with the huge content drought that we've had. It goes without saying, I think everyone, especially in these sort of ender game communities, is pretty sick of hard mode X. Like, it's cool to see. I'm not like mad at them for releasing it, but we're ready for something new. So I 100% think it's going to be Raids 3. What about you? Any predictions?
I think you're right. I think it has to be Raids 3, because I think they know the community will they'll lose their mind if it isn't. They'll be like, "Are you?" Because if you go to any Q&A when they do their weekly Q&As, so many people are just spamming up, "When's Raids 3? When's Raids 3?" And especially with that leak that we talked about last episode, of this like desert-looking summoner monster thing. People are saying this has to be Raids 3, because we all think it's going to be set in the desert, because the desert is lacking in content, and we have Menaphos
needs to be filled in at some point. So. Yeah,
well, there's that big city that we need to see. But also I saw people speculating with that leak that it could be Varlamore, south of the Krend, of Great Krend, because Varlamore is also supposed to be like a deserty area.
Yeah.
Even though I never thought of it as it, but
the fact that there's already a raids on Zaya makes me, like, just north of that, makes me a little not sure.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I agree with you. Like, it could be there too. I think those are the two most obvious options. We all kind of have pointed out, many people have pointed out, the desert is sort of sorely lacking content. And I know it's a desert, so it's literally supposed to lack content. But it is probably...
It's also one of the coolest locations, I would say, too. Because it has the whole the water skins. You need to stay hydrated. Like it's like, I know going there when I was younger, when I first, and maybe you had the same experience, but it was like it's like, man, this is on par with the wilderness on how dangerous it feels.
I 100% agree. It's one of my favorite areas in the game. Those are some of my favorite quests. Desert Treasure, Anacris Lament. Those are some of my favorite quests that take place there. I just think they're sweet to like roam around the desert. You don't see anyone. You see the wild animals. The heat damages you. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I think they would do well to put an update there. I don't think they could really fail.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a very desert theme. Okay, this is my pitch. This is gonna be, this is me over pitching, and we're gonna get under delivered here.
Okay,
here we go.
Give it to me.
So I think it's gonna be very desert themed. I think we're going to see an announcement of Raids 3, and I think it's either going to be tied to Men of Foes, where we'll get maybe Desert Treasure 2, because they love adding the sequels to these major quests of ours. So maybe Desert Treasure 2 would be linked to that in this new city, or maybe it's linked to Varlamore. And I think, or maybe we'll get Varlamore too, but with Varlamore we'll get the Colosseum, because they've announced that they want to bring this Colosseum, which was supposed to be this duel arena like area.
But more duel arena,
another duel arena. But maybe instead of it being a duel arena, it's the duel arena minus the staking. It's going to be more like an arena. So we've seen, I don't know why they don't do this more often, but they've had their PvP all-star tournaments that they've done a few times, which were like 2v2 battles and stuff. And those seem to be they were fun to watch. So I have to imagine they were kind of successful there. So taking that and putting arenas in the game in the Colosseum, which will allow, so many people are saying the wilderness sucks, and, PKers aren't happy with it. So why not allow the PKers to have a spot that they can actually have some more fun in, even though it's not quite PKing, it's more of arenas, but still, that would be sick.
Yep.
Have it like Last Man Standing. And I think they might tease a new skill called archaeology.
Oh, he's going with a new skill. Okay.
And I think maybe a new skill, because RuneScape 3, and here's my real RuneScape 3. I've become a little RuneScape 3 fanboy, but they have archaeology. And okay, I haven't done it yet, I'll be honest, but from looking into it, it looks really, people love this skill from what I've seen.
Okay.
It's all tied to the lore, and you have these archaeology dig sites where you can kind of uncover, like, parts of the reward is like learning more about the lore and getting like maybe some sort of lore-esque equipment. But in the past they pitched sailing, which was supposed to be like sort of like dungeoneering, where you would sail and you would land on an island, and then it's like dungeoneering where you can go and it's this RNG dungeon that you can now explore, and you can get some rewards for it. And people love dungeoneering, but people time and time again say it shouldn't be a skill. It should have been just like a mini game, because in RuneScape 3 it's a skill. But I think having archaeology, this would allow you to tie in some dungeoneering where you like uncover, maybe ruins and stuff that you can now go and explore, which would give them room to bring out new items. No, probably not. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. No pun intended.
I feel like new items is where they struggle.
So I think that's the issue, is like
new best in slots and new endgame items is where they seem to be having a hard time, rather than with content.
If they were to bring, I think archaeology as a concept is a very cool idea, and you can do a lot with it. It doesn't have to be just dungeoneering light. You could tie it into like, we have some like with the museum, we have, what is it called? We can like uncover little artifacts, and like Fossil Island, and then they having dig sites that, I don't know. Now that's the problem, is what purpose would it serve in this game? That's the tricky part.
Here's another thing, Dilz. Do you think that they would pull another skill? Because three skills have failed the polls: artisan, sailing, and warding. Or do you think they would just put it in the game now that they've been starting to do this kind of thing?
I think they have to pull it, but I think they're learning with each. They've pitched 3 different skills now, and the closest one to passing was sailing at 68%, that's pretty close. I'm surprised they didn't tweak it and they just dropped it. This was back in 2015, so
it would have to be exciting, fun, Good for everyone. Like, it really needs to be something special, I think, to pass. Like, I don't think another boring skill or a buyable is going to pass. I think it would have to basically be something that is like extremely exciting. It has a lot of like potential loot involved. I don't know, something like that. I'm just sort of getting the vibes from the community. Like, I don't think it's going to pass if it's just another like regular skill. I think it'd have to be tied to like combat or like multiple skills mixed together in some way.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think warding, when it was first announced, I think I was all for warding. But then now that I think about it in retrospect, it fits in the game. But God, yeah, I don't want another fletching skill or another smithing skill. Those, like, there's no fun in that.
You're right. That was ultimately the death of warding. It's not that it was bad or didn't have a place. Yeah, it's that it wasn't. It was a little bit boring. Sailing was exciting. Artisan as well. It was basically like Slayer for skilling, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which seems boring. Ish.
Not necessarily the best. So I think they need to combine multiple skills again. Like, so Slayer is like I'm just kind of being just following what community like. Slayer is a very popular skill because
people love it.
You make money, you do combat, you can get a variety of different bosses. There's a lot of like variety to it and a lot of like potential to have fun, collaborate with friends. So I feel like they need to somehow add these things. I'm not asking for Slayer 2. I'm asking for some kind of like combination skill. I think is basically the only thing that's I'm just thinking about what's going to pass the poll.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be something like that.
So seeing how sailing was so close to passing the poll.
Do you think archaeology is like something that would pass?
I think obviously they'd have to do it right, but if they can like show that it's going to be fun, and that it's going to add some sort of value to the game somehow. That's the tricky part, is like, what value could it have? Because if you look at RuneScape 3, there are skills. Every skill we have kind of adds value except for fire making. I don't know what the hell that one's doing.
I mean, we do have a few garbage skills, but yeah, you're right. They mostly do.
Yeah, they all have their space. They pretty much have their purpose. And look at the new RuneScape 3 skills. They do have archaeology. I haven't done it yet, so I can't really speak too much on it. But dungeoneering, which it brought in new weapons and stuff. People thought that one shouldn't have been a skill, which is okay. That's fair. And then they have like invention, which was like a big skill, which I don't think that would ever work in old school RuneScape, because if they have trouble bringing in items, invention allowed you to augment your items so that, your dragon scimitar can now do AoE damage or something. That would be tricky to add into the game. But I think something like archaeology is a unique enough skill, and it sounds fitting enough, and it allows you to like put it into so many different directions. You could maybe add in new weapons through that you maybe uncover, or maybe there's some dungeons that you can uncover that allow you to, I don't know, different ways to skill. I have no idea.
You see, we're struggling over here. Not the most creative type. It's a tall order for them, but I think just in general, it would have to fit thematically and be a very exciting skill to pass a poll. It can't be boring.
Yeah, but maybe something that allows skills to be a little bit. You could like the items that you get from. We always think of weapons and armor of coming from like new piece of content, but why not stuff like the Inferno axe is a good example, where it's like allows you to you burn logs, but you get some fire making experience while you do it, or like something like the different, like almost like the dodgy necklace, which allows you to avoid being knocked out when you pickpocket. Like, I wonder if there's room to bring in different items like that. And they had, if you remember way back when they first pitched blessings, which is like the first equipable piece that goes in your ammo slot, blessings were going to allow you to like continuously have aggro from the monsters around you, keep all the monsters to be aggressive so you could AFK better. So and they had weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember correctly, it came close, but it didn't pass.
It didn't quite pass. Hey. Yeah, I think that's sense, there's room. There's room.
Yeah.
There's room for creativity.
It's a shame because I think there is room, but we've seen all these ideas be implemented through different means. Like having the Ava's accumulator, which this is an old item, of course, so it doesn't even matter, but imagine having the backpack, which gave you your ranged stats, ranged boosts, but then through archaeology you were able to get some sort of device or whatever that you could then attach to your bag that allows you to retrieve the arrows automatically. So it would eventually become the Avos accumulator as we know it today. But maybe taking that idea and applying it to different parts of the game, whether it's skilling or different parts of or maybe different parts of combat.
Glass blowing pipe that would let you save your glass once in a while. Who knows?
Why not?
Sure,
Why not?
You're right. You could add stuff like that to the game for sure. And it's not like you would get to the point where you could argue that it's not worth even going for them because you may as well just blow the glass, right? So I don't know. It's cool. I like it. Sure.
I think it could work. And I think the community, and some people might not like this. Some people aren't going to like it. They always kind of rally against it. But I think less people are against it now, but people I think are ready for skilling to become maybe not easier, but less shitty. Whether it becomes more fun to do or it becomes less tedious. I know I see more often now because I've been playing this game since 2013 and I've been frequenting the subreddit and maybe a little bit of Twitter since 2014, 2015. And I have noticed the player base is now asking more often that they want the parts of skilling that suck. They want it to become less sucky, less annoying to deal with. People want to be able to menu entry swap, I don't know, one-click blackjack. Obviously, that's very controversial, but
yeah, people just want the game to be easier. I don't know. Yeah.
I think that's the tricky part because I think the problem right now is that we tie a lot of difficulty to like navigating a terrible interface or navigating menus.
There's a difference between difficulty and things taking time though.
Yeah. I think what we should look at is parts that aren't, it's not that it's hard to do, but it sucks to do and it's just tedious.
Are blood runes to 99 slow? Yeah. Are they tedious? No, not really. They're enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good example. Yeah.
They're just very slow, but you're just nothing is ever going to pass the poll that says rune crafting 60k per hour. This is not going to happen because people are going to be like, no, but I did it the old way. And it's never going to happen. The same thing goes. One thing I wish they could do is add something. I've never done volcanic mine, but you need a good team to do that. I wish they could add some kind of cool mining mini game that gave you actually decent XP. Like 30k-ish an hour.
Which isn't even that much, but
that was like more click intensive, but actually enjoyable, like Sepulchre, but for mining, because mining is just so brutal. And I always see people, as I was mining sand, there was people like 22, 75 total, almost max, except 2 mining levels, 3 ticking granite, because they're like, I just want it to be over.
Yeah.
Just trying to get some decent XP rates. And even then it's not that good of an XP rate,
So yeah, like this will give you the space to like imagine if archaeology, you had to get a certain level of archaeology and then you uncovered Wintertodd, which was like this underground ruins, or the idea of Wintertodd, but maybe for different skills. So maybe that's where we found volcanic mine, because I think we're at the place where I'm not asking for skills to be faster, but you should have an alternative that is actually you're able to train it. That is actually enjoyable. Like Hollowed Sepulchre is a perfect example. We need more things like Hollowed Sepulchre that's hard to do, but it's fun. And you can get it's not terrible experience for some reason.
Wintertodd for every skill, Jagex. We just need thieving Todd, prayer Todd, rune crafting Todd. Just give us all the Todds.
But I think that's where Wintertodd did really well is that it did make fire making fun, and it's still slower than fire making. Now the problem is the rewards are crazy.
I don't think it's slower than fire making. I think it's just as fast. You get like 300k an hour.
I think if you were to
Redwoods at 90, you'd get more. It'd probably be close.
I'm pretty sure it is more. Let me look it up real quick because I'm.
But it's so much less click intensive, and it's
exactly. This is where. So if you wanted to be efficient as possible, you would stick to fire making. It would be. Let me bring up the training methods here for fire making. So Wintertodd is roughly at 99. At level 90, you make about 290k fire making experience an hour. But doing Redwoods at 90, it's 520k. So it's still significantly more.
More click intensive, but yeah.
More click intensive, you lose a shit ton of money and it's not fun. And that's where Winter Todd is going to be the winner because it's much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it's more AFK and it's more.
Okay, I'm starting to buy your idea of maybe they'll pitch a new skill, but it's a lot of work to put together a new skill, and especially with how many times it's failed. And I personally don't think they will, because I feel like since they've failed 3 times, whatever they release at RuneFest now, especially after such a dry spell and after COVID and everyone being locked at home, they need to hit it out of the park and need it to be a guaranteed success because they want players to stay gaming. They don't want us nerds to go outside and have fun. They want us to stay locked to our PCs. So they need to basically come up with something sick, I think, that's going to be a guaranteed success. So I don't think they're going to risk a skill. Personally,
I think you're right there where it is risky. It's a lot of work to put together and all that work is thrown away if it doesn't pass.
They'll certainly go for it again in the future, but I don't think now is the right time.
I think you're right. I think you are right. So let's stay peeled. We have a few weeks in July before they do this announcement, but I'm excited. We'll see where their head is at. And oh man, if they imagine they come back with just like Ultimate Iron Man or Group Ultimate Iron Man mode.
Group UIM, baby. The original mode.
God damn it. All right. Well, we'll just bring some alts and they'll become our banks. Anyways, what do they have planned for July? We got a little bit of a tangent, but I just got excited talking about potential updates.
That was a tangent. We didn't even get to the updates.
Well, July, we're going to see some Slayer-related polls towards and some bossing-related... we're going to be seeing some Slayer-related and boss-related changes that came with a past poll. Hydra, Grotesque Guardian, Zulrah. That's coming. Nothing major. July 21st, Combat Achievements is coming out. Boom. So we are seeing that. Yeah, that should be interesting. And they've been releasing their speedrun, the speedrun proposal.
Quick speeds under there. Basically, to get Grandmaster, you need to be like a very, 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 very good player.
Yeah, and RNG slightly on your side.
You're thinking these are for you're going to be able to, I think most gamers are going to be able to do the hards will be definitely completable. The elites are going to be you put in some time, but the Grandmasters, you're going to have to be really good at some content.
That's for the Inferno players and
you need to get a sub 65-minute Inferno. For example,
you got to be better than just an Inferno. Yeah,
most players can't even complete the Inferno, but to get Grandmaster, you need to get. But I'm okay with things being really hard, like stuff to be working towards, and that not everyone can get to that top level, because then it's not a challenge and it's not fun. So I love where it's at. All of the Grandmaster are also well above. Sorry, they give you enough time beyond whatever the world record is. There's a good buffer. So it's not like you only 5 players are going to be able to get it. You will be able to if you hard grind. So
it should be fun. It looks pretty interesting. And yeah, the Grandmaster is it's not for everyone. It's going to be for the top 0.01%. The people who not only can do Inferno, but can do Inferno very, very well.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty cool to see.
Hopefully there's going to be lots of content. I think it's not just times. There's also going to be do bosses with specific gear.
That's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, me too. All Mauritania Tob coming through soon.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's the stuff. I think they tease it with killing Hydra and full Derox or something.
Yeah.
Derox. That's an old way I used to pronounce it.
Taking no damage, doing X boss, yeah. The stuff that.
Yeah, cool.
There's going to be a bunch of different challenges. Should be fun, man. I'm really looking forward to them and seeing what the full new grinds are going to be. It's going to bring a lot of people back to the game. Hopefully it'll boost. I think it's going to boost the economy up quite a bit. I would highly suggest buying gear back now if you'd like to. If you're sitting
things
on
are actually
liquid cash.
Starting to go back up, so
they are, yeah, and it's not surprising.
Yeah, it fluctuates. And then finally at the end of the month here, we get The Night at the Theater Part 2. The rework is coming out. The quest that wasn't really a quest in the first place. They say they're making a more thematic approach and will bring you some deeper backstory about the theater and some of its mysterious participants. So I'm excited to see if it's going to hold up.
Yeah, we shall see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Boy. All right. Moving on to the good old we used to call it community chatter, but anyways, it's just drama outside of the game itself.
Nice.
And the funniest part about it is that I imagine there is some. So all this drama took place on Reddit. Jagex decided to release a statement on their website, and I have to imagine there's a bunch of players who don't use Twitter, who don't use the subreddit, and they go on the website. Maybe they use the website forums too. They're old school, and they see a message regarding bug abuse, and it's answering all these questions, and they're like, "What? What the hell's going on? I haven't noticed anything."
Do you want me to do a breakdown of the situation?
Yeah, let's hear your take on it. I have the outside. I'm like the unbiased.
I wasn't going to tell you my take. I was just going to tell you. I just explained to people what happened because I think it's important for them to know. Okay,
give us the timeline.
So I don't quote me on this. This is to the best of my knowledge. So Randy, who's a well-known content creator, he typically goes above and beyond. Like not abusing mechanics necessarily, but definitely pushing the limits and breaking the game. That's his thing. Yeah. Spending disgusting amounts of time doing stuff. So he basically released this like hour and a half video of him using like I didn't watch the whole thing, I'm not gonna lie, it's too long for me. But basically using interface stalls, which is like basically a bug in order to exploit certain quests so that he didn't get prayer XP going into Mauritania when he can finish the quest. And then this bug would then also lead to a whole bunch of other potential things that he could do. That was kind of the gist of it. He found a bug and he showed an exploit using some like pretty harmless thing where he like skipped getting the XP on a quest. Right? That's stage 1. Then Jagex come out and ban him and all of his accounts.
Yeah, and the accounts he worked with. Mm-hmm.
And the accounts he worked with a guy called Mauler, who's another YouTuber who kind of worked in tandem with him. So they banned all of their accounts. And people were like, what? Now? So people on Reddit were upset because they said, you're now banning people because they reported a bug in your game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jagex responded and said, no, we're banning you because not only were you as shown in the video, you were exploiting a bug, but you also were like doing these other things like crashing our worlds and I don't know, whatever. And then Ash came out, Mod Ash, the god himself, saying there's like a bunch of other things and they just can't release the logs. And he said, his quote was basically like, if you already don't believe me, if I release the logs to you from Randy, then how do you know that I didn't just make those up as well? That was his argument, which is fair enough. So that's the sort of the issue. People are either you're listening to Randy, who's calling Jagex a liar, or Jagex, who've banned Randy and all of his accounts and are calling him like a cheater, basically. Mm-hmm. So you kind of being torn between these two sides of the story, and we don't have all of the information. So.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And like if you watch the 1 hour long video, I did it. A lot of hard work got put into it, no doubt. It was so confusing. I felt like I was watching a different game, and I had no idea what the hell he was talking about or what he was doing. 45 minutes in, my eyes were just glossed over with. I'm so confused, and I had to just turn it off. I just didn't get it. But if you go back and watch his older videos, he has this series called Potato Only Iron Man that came out when Settled started doing his Swampletics, his Mauritania Only Iron Man, and basically all the Snowflake accounts were coming out where they restricted their Iron Man account. Mm-hmm. And Randy did that using potatoes. And if you go back and watch it, this will give you a good idea of like the bugs that are in this game, because he really breaks the game by not necessarily breaks it, but he does all this interesting glitches and these different bugs in order to bypass monsters or parts of quests without dying as a level 3. And he only had his potatoes, which heal you like 1 or 2 HP. So things that should have killed him, he was able to bypass with just the potatoes. It was actually really cool seeing him go through all these glitches. And I do enjoy looking at like people who are like bug hunters, because it's like almost like how there's speedrunners. There's people who also just like to hunt bugs. And I remember when I was younger playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, me and my friends, we would loved trying to find bugs. We'd play multiplayer and we would try to figure out how to get from one map to the other. And there were ways to do it, which was really cool. So he kind of does that in this series. You can kind of get some ideas, but things over the years, or over his time as a content creator, they started to escalate and the bugs became more and more kind of interesting. And he showed one about these bots who would crash the world to dupe money. And he showed that in a video like a year ago. And Jagex is basically went ahead and said he's doing himself and the people he knows are crashing worlds to duplicate items and duplicate gold.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why we banned it.
They're saying that they're basically saying that real world trading is probably involved at some point too. Like shady stuff going on below the surface.
And it's really hard to know exactly what's going on because as someone who, I don't have one. I'm not like geared to prefer one over the other. I'm just kind of looking at it as an outside perspective. We see Randy come up with this video. Reddit users love Randy and they really like to hate on Jagex.
They do
for whatever reason.
I feel like there's definitely bias. It was obviously like the free Randy thing, but Randy's also like not the most, sane or unquestionable character. Like last year or like when he did his level 3 fire cape or whatever, and he's like, he had this Twitter rant where he just popped off on Jagex getting mad that Little Smokey, do you remember him with his like Mauritania like hilarious well edited video won the Golden Gnome for best video? He just like lost his shit that all his effort when he's like, I did all these things and he wins for like 2 hours of work. And then Settled was like, just calm down, man, or whatever. And the guy just kind of popped off. So he looked a little bit unhinged to me. So it just feels really uncomfortable. And there has to be something going on below the surface because I don't see them banning him just for like these things. There seems to be more going on. They banned all his accounts, man. Like all 14 that they knew of.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure more of his accounts have been banned, but really, if you go on the subreddit, maybe stay off the subreddit for a while. And if you're on Twitter, maybe just stay off Twitter. I don't know why people use Twitter. I try to get into it every now and then. It just looks like a cesspool of toxicity. But people are hating on Jagex, so everyone's kind of bandwagoning on the love for Randy, and it becomes like a very skewed situation where if you have no idea what's going on, you go on the subreddit and it's just like, what? But a lot of people have been talking about it. And really, personally, I think we're bored. No content's coming out. We're used to so much drama in this game. We mentioned the Mod Jed stuff. That used to be like clockwork for us. We used to get drama every single week or month, it felt like. And we haven't had it in a while. And this is the first thing in a while. So people they have all this pent up drama energy that they're now releasing on social media. So
yeah, it seems like very much like going against Jagex, but I mean, I don't know where I really stand. I don't really have an opinion or care too much.
That's my thing too. I'm like, you know what? I'm sure that happened.
That's basically the situation. It's like,
give it a week and it'll die down.
Yeah, exactly.
But that being said, the potato only hardcore Iron Man series was pretty good. Just maybe if you're gonna go watch stuff, just stick to that series and then just leave it at that. Content creators in RuneScape, they are an interesting thing, and that's one thing that's always stood out to me about RuneScape is they have such like a very hardcore content creator scene.
Yeah, they do.
Which is, you don't see that in many other games as well, but yeah. So that's what's going on in the world of RuneScape this week. I don't know. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back. We got a few emails and we'll wrap this show up. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okie dokie. We're going to take a quick little break and head over to the Grand Exchange. I don't know why I say quick little break. Sometimes I get a little bit rambling. These go on for a couple minutes. Oh boy. That's all right. So yeah, we're going to the Grand Exchange where we can tell you where we kind of just talk about finances, to be honest. We talk about how you can support the show if you want to. And then sometimes we talk about, sometimes we go off on little tangents about the Grand Exchange of old school RuneScape. And I have a buddy who just started playing the game for the first time. He's I guess he's like a month in or 2 months in at this point. He's been grinding pretty hard. And he encountered his first money doubler. I don't know what happened in money doublers. They kind of disappeared, and now you have these bots that are like pretending to trade max cash stack, like 2 bill for like anything. And they scam you because it's actually 2 mil. But he found his first money double. He sent me a message. He's like, dude, this guy said he was doubling money. I gave him 10K. He gave me back 20K, and I did it until I got 50K back. And then I just left. He's like, and I guess he kind of knew he was gonna get scammed, but he really thought he made. See, this is the problem. He feels super confident that this is how the anti-scamming starts. You think you're smarter than these scammers, and next time you're like, I'll try to do it to 100K or 1 mil, and then you get scammed, and all that money you'd made in the past from the anti-scamming, those money doublers, is all gone. And then eventually it goes to the T-bow. You got the T-bow, and you think you can anti-scam the scammer, but the anti-scam is actually scamming you. It's confusing. It's confusing. Old school RuneScape's a cutthroat place. People are so nice, but you'll get scammed in every which corner. It really has caused me to develop some trust issues. There's a bunch of times where I went and bought a car. I had to get a new vehicle, right? So I went to go to the dealership. We were talking, and they were like, "Oh, we can do this, and you'll get a better deal." And I was like, "Okay, what do you guys get out of it?" And they're like, "Nothing." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a scam then." RuneScape's giving me some trust issues there, but in a good way. You gotta be cautious. Question everything. If it ever seems like it's too good to be true, it usually is, right? It also causes me to always be like, okay, what's your angle in this? I know I had this guy. I've been on this weight loss journey, and I don't even know where I bumped into it. Maybe it was I'm on some gaming Facebook groups. I don't know. Maybe I made a comment about something, but I had some dude add me, and he's like, "Hey, are you trying to lose weight?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Great, join this group." And it's called Gamers Who Lift. And then he's like talking to me. "So what games do you play?" Blah blah blah. I'm sitting, okay, buddy, what the fuck? What do you want from me? I don't want to sit here and just have a regular conversation. Tell me what you want. And he's like, "You want to hop on a call?" And I was like, yeah, okay. I was thinking I was like gaming, playing PlayStation or something, or maybe I was playing RuneScape. So I just threw on some headphones, jumped on a call while I continued gaming, and he was like, "Are you trying to like lose?" He did this like sales pitch. "You trying to lose weight? Because I can help you lose weight. It's like we can do this. Da da da. What's the hardest part about losing weight? Yeah. What about diet? Do you have any problems with diet?" He's kind of asking me all these questions, and I was like, okay. And then he had this Facebook group where he does these videos and stuff. So then I was like, at the end, "So like, what do you get from all this?" He's like, "Nothing. I just love doing it." And I was like, well, clearly you're doing this for a reason, right? You're not just doing it for no reason. Like, do you have like some pitch? And I was like, I'm not dumb. Like, do you have like some program that you want to get people signed up for? Like, I know you're going to want some sort of compensation. And he ended up, he was like, well, yeah, I do have this, like, I call it the Legendary Gamer Package, where, I don't want to go into the prices right now, but it'll help you get like ripped and stuff, and it's supposed to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, so all of this is just leading towards your sales pitch. And anyways, we ended up finishing. He was a nice guy though. And I ended up jumping off that call saying I had no money, so it doesn't matter anyways. Anyways, RuneScape has caused me to develop some major trust issues. In a good way though. Maybe in a bad way too. I don't know. Anyways, point is, if you want to support the show, I talk about scamming, and then I go into how you can support the show. That's a weird segue. All right, no, but if you want to support the show, if you enjoy what you're listening to and you want to help give back somehow, or maybe you want some additional content, we've got some of that as well. You can go to patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast. We have a few different tiers. Some people just want to give back. Over the years we had people asking just to donate, and for a while then we never really had a Patreon because I was like, no, it's fine, I don't need it. But I eventually I quit my job in construction. I went back to school to work in audio or podcasting or radio, and that's when I came up with the Patreon to kind of help ease the financial bridge from making that giant career change and all that stuff. So there's ways that you can just support the show, but you can also get some bonus content as well. So we do these, I say weekly, but they're not really weekly these days. They didn't do one last week, but Jags does these Q&As where they kind of answer questions and talk about some of the new updates that come out. And I got a message. Sorry, I'm doing this. I'm at work right now. I just got a message on Slack about some weird shit going down. But yeah, these weekly Q&As that we kind of watch them together. I do a little pre-talk and some post-talk, and then we sit down and watch it, and it's kind of like we're hanging out, and it's an audio version, so I know some people, like myself, when I'm watching the Q&As, when I was working before and I have to watch it on YouTube, it kind of sucked, and I always wish there was an audio-only version that I wish Jagex actually provided like that in podcast format. Never happened, but this way we can do it, we can watch it together as well. We have some other ideas that I've been working on as well. We do these every now, they're very rare, but sometimes we get bonus content. Sometimes we do some bonus content where you get some early access for it, and some other ideas I've anyways, it doesn't matter. Point is, if you want some bonus content, you can go on Patreon and check that stuff out. And we also get, part of the rewards, part of the perks is you get a little bit of a shout out. So for a $5 tier supporter, so each episode is dedicated to one of our $5 tier supporters, and this week is Mon Player. And of course, if you're a $10 tier supporter, you get every episode dedicated to you as well, which is Aiden A, Gentinu, Dreadful Monkeys, Mateo Was, Szechuan, Cynical Cyanide, Mallard, and of course, a super duper shout out to Strosity, mainly because there was a glitch in the system. He got left out for a while there. It's what we call a make good in the radio industry. But hey, if you don't want to jump onto Patreon, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Dilz instead. We can do a one-time payment or a donation for, it's basically like you're buying me a virtual coffee, and that money is probably being spent on actual coffee anyway, so I appreciate that. Definitely have a severe coffee addiction. There's a few times where I don't drink my coffee in the morning or whatever reason it is, and you feel like crap. I'm sure you guys can sympathize with that, right? The time where you don't get your coffee and it's like, wow, I'm literally addicted to my morning coffee, and if I don't, I feel like crap all day. I have a headache. It's rough. I've wanted to wean off because I don't like being addicted to stuff. Here I am playing RuneScape, but it's hard. That's a tough one. So anyways, thank you to Timbuk225, Caradoc, Terry Paramore, It's a Cold World, and Swizzle for buying me a coffee this week. You guys rock, and everyone rocks, and everyone who's listening, you guys are also pretty sweet. So thanks for all the support, everyone. And I guess we got some interesting podcasts in the future now that there's going to be a little Dilz rearing around the corner. That should be interesting. Anyways, yeah, let's get back into the episode. All right, we are back. Before we get out of here, we got some emails that we have to jump into because we've been slacking on those. We've had a few busy recordings, but so let's jump into them today. So the first question comes from Mr. Bus Go Beep, our resident, slightly new to RuneScape, journeying through the world of Gielinor, giving us our updates. But he mentioned that he got his first fire cape, which took 5 attempts. But boy, were they doozies, he says. He says his first attempt, he did not know that the Ava's accumulator does not pick up bolt racks, so I ran out of ammo around wave 5. Yeah, bolt racks are a weird piece of ammo. They are a relic for its time. The second attempt, though, was a cheapskate and only filled a newly purchased blowpipe with 750 Zolra scales, realized at wave 50 it would not be enough, and walked out. Ooh, yeah, that story happens all the time. Normally what people do is they unload their blowpipe and they just toss the darts themselves.
Classic.
Yeah. That's the classic move there. And I guess why we hate degradable items so much. We are so sick of it. Third attempt, they forgot that the mage guy has a melee attack if you get too close, and got comboed at wave 58. Fourth attempt, kill all of Jad's healers, but while trying to pot up, got overconfident, missed a prayer flick, and died. That sounds like the classic experience for any...
it happens to everyone.
Yeah, fire cape. It took me 12. It's it's the old Jad hands, right? It's a fight against yourself, not against Jad. And it's why it's one of the biggest milestones an account gets. So getting a fire cape is massive for anyone. And it's funny that you beat it the first time, the second time is so much easier, but it's still always something that people will post on Reddit or in our Discord, and it's everyone feels that excitement.
It's a big goal. It's a nice one to get done. So big congrats on the fire cape. But yeah, going through everyone's trials and tribulations of beating Jad, everyone has basically a similar story. You gotta try it a bunch of times, and you get there and you always die. So
it is rough. But he follows up here with a question, and he asks, what is the dumbest way that you have died while bossing, or just in old school RuneScape in general? So I can take the first one if you want to think of any that stand out to you, but I have one that always stood out to me. And this is going back in like 2005. So not quite old school RuneScape, but in RuneScape when it was old. Back when it was browser based. There was we have the rare drop table, and on that rare drop table, I believe there's a dragon medium helmet. Right? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And a lot of monsters have the rare drop table that happens on it, but super rare. And this caused like a huge rumor that would constantly get brought up. Like everyone would just say it like, oh, I heard fire giants drop dragon medium helmets. And another one that people would say is the otherworldly beings, which are in Xanaris. The people would say, oh, they have a chance at dropping the dragon medium helmet, which was worth about 1 mil when at the time. So quite a bit of money. 1 mil was a lot back then, and a dragon medium helmet was like sick to get. People would get like so amped for it, but to grind a monster to hope to get that rare drop table is like crazy.
That's insane. Yeah.
It's brutal. Like you won't get it, but people tried it because everyone had that story of somebody they knew or a friend of a friend of a friend who got the dragon medium helmet, which means these monsters drop it. So I remember killing it. And then the problem was I think this is back when there wasn't tabs in your browser. So you can have tabs, but you could have multiple windows open. So of course I'm on tippet.com looking at like all the different parts of RuneScape on the site there. And then I would switch back and forth every now and again. And I always remember switching back to seeing myself getting red barred. And I had an Amulet of Glory, which was like, I think it was like 80k at the time, or at least it felt like it was that much. I had full Torags. I think I had a Dragon Scimitar or maybe a whip. I had a bunch of stuff, and then I died and lost all of it. And I lost like maybe a mil or so, but back then that money would have been worth like, that would have been like losing like 70 mil or something. Like it was, I lost it all and my heart dropped, and it was all because like, I think maybe the outworldly beings, they have like a magic based melee attack. Yeah. And I wasn't praying because prayer potions are just not a thing that people use.
No one can afford those.
Yeah. And, anyway, so I ended up getting killed from it. And I remember like just freaking out because there was a monster that you shouldn't get killed by. And I lost all this armor and stuff. And I still remember the feeling I had when I saw my account drop down to Lumbridge, or maybe it was Falador. I probably like stormed off. Had to go for a walk. Had to walk it off as like my 10, 12, 11 or 13-year-old self
Absolutely
had to do.
A brutal death.
Yeah, it always stood out to me as that death there. Did you have any deaths that stand out to you in your RuneScape career?
On my current account, I die all the time, which is why I'm not a hardcore, because it's too stressful. It's too stressful for me, and I knew I was going to die at some point, so I was like, I'm not even going to bother trying, because that's not what I enjoy the mode. So it's cool for people that are hardcores, though. Anyways, when I was a kid, I was getting like, I had made a little bit of money, for myself. I was doing okay for myself. I had a little nice D-hide. I had a Robin Hood hat. I had a little magic short bow. I was working on my range. And back in the day, a good way to get range XP and money was to kill Aviansies in God Wars Dungeon in like 2007, right after they came out, because of all their good drops. And I was down there using my bones to peaches, and I ended up like losing internet connection or something.
Ooh, no.
And I quickly turned it back on, and I was low health, and I panicked and I ran, but I took off one of my pieces of equipment. I was an idiot. And I got aggroed on by like everything. And I went down. Like everything dropped on the floor. Didn't have my Robin Hood hat. Because the way things worked back then, because it wasn't like based on value, it was based on something else. So I kept 3 like other items. So I
it was based on stats, because party hats was always dropped. Or
so
something,
all of my valuable items were like basically Fashionscape, and they all dropped on the account onto the floor, and I raced to get back. I just did not make it in time. It was an awful experience, man.
Yeah, that's that's a thing. Anyone who's brand new to old school RuneScape, back in the day, and even back in old school RuneScape on release, When you died, you dropped all your items on the ground, instantly appeared for everyone else to grab, and you had 2 minutes or 3 minutes to get back and pick it up.
Well, it wasn't instantly. They would appear after a certain amount of time for other people.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
There was a small window where you could get your stuff back. I'm pretty sure
it was a minute or two.
It wasn't very long. It was very, very short. So you had to like race back. And there was no one in God War's dungeon. My items just despawned. And of course, I didn't have the teleport to get up there. I ran the entire way, right? Because I was a noob. So I didn't have no Trollheim teleport.
Ooh, and see, this is probably where like the toxicity of old school RuneScape players can come in, because we used to get so excited to see somebody die because you're like, I'm about to get rich.
Oh, it was great, dude. When you saw someone plank, you're like, oh, I bet they had good stuff on them. You just go
like,
swarm their
go loot
pile.
their body. Yeah.
Great.
Oh,
everyone was a UIM back in the day.
Oh my god, brutal.
That's one of the reasons I would really struggle with the Ultimate Iron Man. Like I like the idea of it. I feel like it's a cool puzzle and all, but my god, the fear of wiping would just be too much for me.
Yeah, and I know I would make some stupid mistake. I make a stupid mistake on my normal account and end up dying. I can't imagine like
this game is supposed to be stress relieving, not stress inducing. So for those reasons, I stick to
until you go
Iron
kill
Man
Jad,
mode.
and then it takes away like 5 years of your life from all the anxiety.
Oh god, yeah. Inferno is going to be bad too one day.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I'm looking forward to that, but I guess I kind of am.
It's on the horizon for you, hey? Yeah.
Sorry, I think about it every now and then, but
it's a big one. I think I'm gonna at least start to think about it once I get the new bow.
Oh,
because I've heard it's quite good there. But then I need to get Pegasians as well, so at least I'll have a little bit of time.
True. Is it the Ranger boots you're missing?
Yeah, I'm at like 400 medium clues, so I'll need to send some more. They're very slow and they're very tedious.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the loot is heinous. Boy. So, anyways, it'll at least give me a buffer. That was a great question, dude. This is a great question. I'm sure there's some great ones in the clan of people that have died. I'd love to hear,
especially
in the Discord.
Especially looking back on the days where you would lose all your items. I'm sure we have a moment that stuck with us. Of course, we have one last message that got sent in from Mr. Burt Macklin. Love that name. And he says, recently started using RuneLite and loving all the quality of life enhancements that it brings. I'm excited to hear the old school RuneScape team will be bringing a lot of these into the game itself. He says, I'm not sure you've talked about this or not, but I was wondering if you could discuss your favorite RuneLite plugins that are a must to use. Recently discovered the Quest Helper plugin. It's so nice. And would love to hear what other plugins that you or Heartless thinks we should see in the future. I know a few episodes ago we did talk about, maybe it was last episode, we talked about some of the RuneLite plugins that we like, but there are a ton of really cool RuneLite features that they're just like kind of fun to have, I would say. Mm-hmm. So I think last we talked about like tile markers is like a must, and
ground items.
Yeah,
customizing your ground items is really important. You can like go in there and change the values and change which ones you like hidden.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Custom left click dropper we mentioned. That's where you can type in the specific thing and it will drop it. So let's say you're doing fishing salmon and you type in salmon and have it turned on. When you left click on the salmon, it'll just automatically drop it instead of right clicking to drop or shift dropping. That's a great one. GPU is obviously very good.
Right. Smooth animations. I was playing with a buddy the other day and he didn't have it on and it looked so weird. Some people don't like it.
Animation smoothing, I hate it. It's disgusting.
You hate it?
You play with animation smoothing, you're a criminal. See, that one divides people. You should try it at least. I think it's disgusting, but some people swear by it. So it divides opinion, but I can see why people like it. I'm very much against that.
Yeah, everything just looks so chuggy.
What else? Low details, surprisingly good, especially if you're on like a lower end laptop. I turn on low detail when I use my laptop, and it just makes things run a little bit smoother. It's actually quite nice for certain bosses. You can see the floor very easily. So I highly suggest testing that one out if you're on a garbage laptop. What else? Player indicators is disgusting. If you go into the wilderness, turn on player indicators. Go into it's on automatically for everyone, but there's a thing that says highlight others and it's automatically in red. It'll highlight every other person in red on your map. It'll show their name, and above their heads, it'll show their name. So it's really easy to dodge PKers. with that plugin.
Oh boy.
Highly suggest that one. Especially you're a bit of a wilderness aficionado, aren't you, over there?
Sometimes, yeah. But yeah, the player...
You might say Mr. Scorpio.
Mr. Scorpio over here. Yeah, the times I have died almost always coincide with me having player indicators turned off. So it does help a lot.
Trying to think of the other... Entity Hider is a really good one. If you don't want to see any other people, just turn it on. That's really good. There's also some really cheeky plugins in the plugin hub, which are definitely worth looking into. There's some really good ones for Chambers of Xeric.
I would definitely say there's some really cool. It's just a look around if you want to really load up.
Raid data tracker is really fun. It gets to shows you all the raids that you've been in, how many points you've collected, your loot, the rare drops you've gotten. That one's really worth doing if you're a bit of a raider.
Your best record times, your splits. That one's fun because if you do a lot of raiding, you can look back and let's see, I'm looking at it now. It says I've done 12 Theater of Bloods, and I've gotten 147 mil because I got a scythe split in one of them.
Nice.
And then I look at Chambers of Xeric. I have 37 kills logged, and I have what does it say? How much money I've made? I can't find it. Well, anyways, I made 6 mil in regular drops.
Another thing for bossing is special attack counter. So let's say you BGS something, it'll tell you how much you hit in the left corner. Same with if you've hit your Dragon Warhammers. That can be used in combination with the party, which lets you know how many total you have in your party. So if you're doing something like Corp, it'll show a collective sort of hits for specs, which is really nice.
Yeah, that one's cool.
Cox timers are really good. Specifically an Iron Man one that I use a lot is called Banked XP. It's from the plugin hub.
Oh, that's cool.
It just shows you what XP you have banked, and it's really nice to be able to do sort of help with calculations or see how far you are off things, specifically with Herblore, because Herblore can be hard to track with sort of all the different moving parts. Yeah, it's definitely nice to see the banked XP. So you young irons out there, you definitely want to get that one on. That's pretty much it, cool. Dude. Those are the ones that I use all the time, at least the ones that I have highlighted.
One that I like to kind of switch around, it's what's it called? The Resource Packs Hub. You can switch the way the interface looks, like it kind of reskins it. Obviously, some people like the classic, but I like to switch it up every now and then. And sometimes it takes a bit to get used to because all your symbols could change, but it's kind of fun. Like they have what is it? A 2011 reskin from when it looked back when they did like the first HD update. So it's kind of fun to kind of switch it around. I usually tend to go back to the normal look eventually. What's another cool one here? Where was I? Just saw it.
There's one that's called Twitch plugin is pretty fun. You can see streamers if you're on RuneLight.
Oh, that's cool, really?
Yeah, it'll highlight them. They'll be purple if they're live, and they'll just be gray if they're not, and it'll show their Twitch name above them. So if you want to check out some streamers, that's kind of cool.
That sounds kind of fun to do. An interesting one is called Time to Level, where it basically just looks at your skills and would say if you were to be max efficiency right now, you could level up your skills. You know, I'm looking at it. It says my Herblore. I'm 16 minutes from leveling if I were to go the best XP per hour. Obviously, I would say don't look at that if you're the type of person that tying numbers to your grinds, tying a time to your grind kind of ruins your experience a bit, because I know that can happen for me. But for me, I like to look at it and go like, oh, you know, I'm I don't know, 3 hours from thieving, let's say, even though I know it would take me way more than 3 hours because I'm very not efficient.
And yeah, that's cool. Sorry, it was called OSRS Streamers was the one I was thinking of.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that. That's fun.
I was trying to browse my plugins now. I think I've pretty much gone through all of them. There's a lot of stuff in the plugin hub if you're interested specifically in certain plugins. Those are ones that aren't like on the stock. They're not on stock RuneLight, but they have been approved to be safe. So sometimes you can overload your system with them, but I've never had any issue, and I have tons of them involved.
Yeah, I like to go for ones that are just like little fun things to do, like the raids tracker, just because it's kind of fun to see how much money you're making and all that stuff. But I would say if you are doing a lot of raiding, they have a Rune Watch plugin that'll allow you to see, which is really cool, by the way, this Rune Watch system, where if somebody has ever stolen a items from someone or whatever, they get reported to RuneWatch, and then if you're playing with them, it will tell you, by the way, this person's on RuneWatch for doing X amount of stealing X amount of GP. Just so that you can know that you're raiding with if you're doing a lot of like we do raids and stuff, just so that you can know you're raiding with somebody who not to be surprised if they now snag something off of you. It's a pretty cool system. But I think that's about it for what I have. But there's a lot of cool. I like to look at it like every once a month, let's say, to see what new ones are out there. And I add I'm a person who likes to load up on a shit ton of mods, and then I realize like it's ruining my whatever.
There's one that I haven't gotten into that I would like to shout out. I think it's called bank tabs. So you can have your normal bank tabs on RuneLite, but there's also ones where you can like set the gear up in a specific way, like you can move it around. It won't come from each tab. So then you won't be able to forget anything. So you can have like your character on one side and then your inventory on the other side when you click on the bank tab. So it'll show you sort of everything you need to get. And that way you don't forget anything. And I think that's quite good. I think it's under bank tags, but I can't remember correctly. It's definitely worth messing around with some of those bank things. Makes gaming a lot more efficient when you're trying to gear up for bosses where you need a whole bunch of different stuff.
Another one that's great is bank heat maps.
Heat map is hilarious, yeah.
Yeah, I have a tab where I put all my stuff that I'm going to sell, but I like to let it build up till it's like 10 mil. And then I sell off everything that's worth like 200K or something or higher. Mm-hmm. But the heat maps will make things, the higher value it is in that tab will be red and then all the way down to green. And then as you kind of put in your inventory, other things will pop up.
It scales based on the value of your stacks of things, right? So yeah,
that's pretty
the problem
cool.
with my bank is like the LE is red and everything else is blue.
Yeah, it's great if you have the tab that's your sell-off tab, your junk tab.
Absolutely, yeah. It's pretty fun.
But if you have like a Tebow or something, everything is gonna be green and that one thing's gonna be red.
So hard, yeah. It's cool though. It's a nice little plugin to check out.
Anyways, I feel like I can go on and on about them, but there's a lot of cool ones. I just type in an idea and then I'll see it. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna add all this stuff. If something sucks. I have like a flipping plugin that I thought was going to work one way and it doesn't work at all that well. So I'm probably going to remove that sooner than later. But anyways, yeah, thanks. And guys, if you have a really cool plugin, let us know because I'm always looking for pretty neat plugins. And I know there's people in the Discord and CC who actually have developed a few plugins as well, which is really neat. But anyways, that being said, I got to get ready to wrap things up. We're hitting that time. We're actually past that time. So let me run through the housekeeping. That if you want to hang out with us in game, we have the friends chat open, which is Wild CC, which is great if you're in 2 clans already. But if you're not in a clan, you can join our Wild clan as well. Just get in touch with one of the mods of the clan, and we will get you accepted. The system's janky, but it's there. If you want to join our Discord, there's a link in the episode of the description of this episode. Or if you're a Twitter user and you love all the drama that's going on over there, you can head over to the Wilderness RS and click the link there as well. And of course, we have an email, TheWildernessPodcast@gmail.com, where you can send in any stories that you have, any questions, whatever it is. If you got some parental advice to give as a RuneScape dad or a RuneScape mom, send it in. Would love to hear it, or even to hear your stories of it as well. I think we hit everything. I stream every now and then if you want to check it out, twitch.tv/TheDilz. But it's not super consistent. And the quality itself is not super consistent. Heartless, you got anything for us?
Yeah, we're doing that little PvP event right on Saturday. So come and check that out the 17th. You can sign up in the Discord. It's definitely worth joining the Discord if you haven't. Bingo will be coming up at the end of August, which is always a blast. Last time we had 60 people involved and everyone had fun. So highly suggest you. And we learn every time, so it just gets better and better every time we play. So I highly suggest you join the Discord so you'll be able to participate in that event.
That is August. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so check that out on Discord. The event's going to be sweet. The Saturday one, I'm looking forward to that. I signed up as well because I want to play in it. But I signed up as a solo player, which means we'll get linked up with somebody else, and it should be a great time. Yeah, that should be sick. All right. Do you have any song of the weeks that you want to pitch?
If not,
I can grab one.
I do not, but I thought of one the other day. I can't remember what it was though.
Let's see what would be fitting. I think we have to do with all the bug abuse going on. Let's do Slug a Bug Ball, which is unlocked during the Slug Menace. This is a song I do not know.
Savage Dilz over here. Nice pick.
Oh, this is gonna be a good one. So fun note, in 2018, the capitalization of the track was fixed. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a good one. Okay. And whoa, you know what? What's crazy? I'm looking at the dungeon that this is unlocked in. The dungeon looks like the worms from Dune. That's funny. The map design, they made it look like guys, go on the wiki and check it out. You'll see what I mean. Interesting. Next episode, I'm almost finished Dune. Well, maybe we'll have to chat about the book Dune. Because I know you were a big fan of that series, right?
It's a great book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I was like reading it and it like skips ahead like 2 years and doesn't tell you. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Paul, the battle's over, Paul. You're just like, wait, what?
There's definitely some funny stuff going on in it for sure.
Yeah, it's some good stuff. Anyways, we'll talk about that next week. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Sign up for the event if you haven't already. And I guess we'll see you guys on the next one.
See ya.